morning, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to the Girls in Property podcast. It is officially now been a week since the retreat as we are on our Monday. And my goodness, I don't know how everybody else is feeling, but that was some adventure, wasn't it, on Friday? What a day. Absolutely fantastic. And I hope everybody is now well and truly recovered from it. So what I thought I'd love to do today is actually get somebody on who was at the retreat. Absolutely fantastic woman. Really, really inspiring. And I can't wait to kind of introduce you to her more, hear her story, and just hear how fabulous she is and what she's doing to help female business entrepreneurs in the industry. So I'd like to welcome on Rebecca Barr, the female preneur coach.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Obviously, like so many people got to meet you at the retreat and got to hear you speak and hear about your California retreat and all these other things. But of course, there were some people who sadly weren't at the retreat as well. So first of all, what I'd love, because you can do it better than anybody else, I would love for you to first introduce yourself to everybody. And really tell everybody kind of what you do, how you help people, some interesting facts about yourself because you're such an interesting person, and then we can have a bit of a chat.
Now I'm feeling the pressure to be like really interesting. I'm like, am I interesting? Oh, well, thank you so much. So my name is Rebecca Barr. My Instagram handle is the Femalepreneur Coach. I am an award-winning entrepreneur. I've been in business for over 9 years, and I'm also a business growth strategist and consultant for other women in business, as well as being a mentor. I'm a money mindset mentor and best-selling author of The Good Girl's Guide to Money Making, and essentially on a really spiritual mission to take over the world with women in tow. Obviously, like we're all going to do it together. So in terms of interesting facts, probably the fact that I'm doing this with 5 kids in tow, I think really, just kind of creates this new paradigm that as women, we have to choose, we don't. And I'm living proof of that.
Do you know what? I love that. And I love the fact you mentioned that about being a mum to 5 children, because I remember you standing up on stage and you were sort of introducing yourself and saying everything that you were doing. But as soon as you mentioned the fact that you were doing everything with 5 children, you could just hear the room go, oh, like a gasp. And they were like, what? They're like, I've got 1, I've got 2, and I can't do it. How do you do 5? And can I just say, guys, like Rebecca is the most like slim, beautiful person. You're like, how did you have 5 children?
Thank you so much. Did we just become best friends?
I love it. But literally, I'm like 5, and I saw a picture of you the other day with your 5 children, and I was like, oh,
there's actual evidence.
It is true, guys. 5 children, and it's like the Von Trapp family. Like, I was like, this is incredible. So fantastic intro. Absolutely love that. And as you know, we, of course, as part of this podcast, always do something that we are celebrating as well. So would you like to say something you are currently celebrating at the moment?
Well, obviously, other than coming on Friday, because that honestly was just such a beautiful space, and I did mention it to a few people that it's actually really rare to be in those rooms and in those communities where genuinely no agendas, no pitches, no competition. It was just so lovely. So I'm absolutely celebrating that, and also you, because what an incredible gift that you shared. And then on a personal note, I'm sharing the fact that I'm going to Monte Carlo tomorrow with my 5 children because I only booked that last week. And that literally came from a place of self-reflection where actually, as I'm bringing more and more of these incredible women into my world, I need to be the embodiment of what I'm teaching. And we've already discussed today that you are far too busy for my liking. And I thought the same thing. I was like, actually, I've got this time freedom, but what am I doing with it? I need to get my ass on a plane and I need to take my kids and be that change that I want to see. So I'm celebrating that.
Oh my goodness, I'm so jealous. So you're going to Monte Carlo tomorrow?
I can't wait. I actually used to work out there back in the day. Like this will happen, Athena, when you have kids, it's like before Christ. Like you forget that you had a previous life where you were a fully functioning adult human who had interests and hobbies and passions before you have kids.
I
So
love
yeah,
that.
I used to work in Monte Carlo for a little bit, and I've done events and stuff out there. And I thought, and I'm kind of like, I've got this little bucket list of places that I want to take the kids that I went, in my single early days. And so I also used to work in Venice and worked on a private island there. So I've taken them there, and it's like I'm just kind of going through this little bucket list of places that I want to take them.
Where is the coolest place you ever went and worked abroad?
I think it is Venice, genuinely, because it was like a private island, and it was just absolutely fabulous. And then taking the kids back this time, don't get me wrong, it wasn't quite the same experience when because my son, obviously my kids are Italian, so my son Luciano, bless him, they've got a Ferrari store there. So obviously, I got the boys like little remote control cars, thinking that would be a fun little thing to keep them busy. Obviously not factoring in the San Marco Square, how busy it is and how many pigeons are everywhere. And then obviously, of course, they thought it was hilarious to go around with their little remote control cars, ruining all the money shots for the tourists because the birds would just go everywhere all the time. And I was like, I did not think this through.
Oh God, that is hilarious because you just wouldn't think that, would you? You wouldn't think
No.
pigeons in Venice either. Oh God, I love that. I absolutely love that. You know, as you know, travel is literally in my soul, in my blood, and
Yes.
travel is such a big part of life because I think that you go out and it humbles you. You get perspectives of different people's lives, different cultures,
Mhm.
different food. Like, I just
And it
think
inspires
travel,
you, doesn't it?
it's really inspiring, and I think that it should be in all, like I think that people should travel as often as they can to really go and have that. And if you're lucky enough to take your children to really inspire them and teach them about other people's lives, I think that's such a blessing to give to them. So kudos to you taking your 5 children with you. Fair play. um and then, my goodness, what am I celebrating? I mean, you said to me actually before we came on the podcast, you were like, okay, Athena, have you had time to decompress? Have you had time to take it all in? Have you had time to really just take a moment to breathe? And what's so interesting is, and this is so my personality, is this this I'm going to do this bit before I do my celebration, which is I haven't actually had a time to take it all in and to breathe from it when we're doing this podcast together, because for me my brain works in a way which is already on to the next thing, the next event, the next mentoring call, the next thing I've got to do. Like, life doesn't stop, life still carries on afterwards,
Yeah.
and there's still 1,000 things that you have to do. I showed you my to-do lists for today and you looked at it in absolute disgust. um
I'm a
so
feminine energy leader. We don't believe being in that masculine energy. It's
I
absolutely.
know, I know. So
Mm.
what am I celebrating? Okay, so what I'm celebrating is, I mean, Friday happened, and Friday was just, if I say so myself, just like mind blowing, in the respect that these women came together, and what I wanted to show and what I think we put together as women was this idea that we don't have to be in competition with each other. We don't have to go against each other. We can actually build something incredible. And I talk about this idea of community, which I'm so unbelievably passionate about within this girls in property industry, to bring women, to uplift women together. And I think that in such a male dominated industry, that is so important. Like, I always talk about queens supporting queens. Like,
Yeah.
we got to stick together like an army
Yeah.
almost.
And this
And
is how
I'm
business has
just,
always been done, right? Like how much business is
oh,
typically done on the golf course and behind closed doors. As so, it's time for women. But what I really loved as well was that there wasn't any pressure for that. I've like I say, I've been at other networking events where you can see like almost like shark behavior, where people are like hustling, going around the room, like working the room, and they're really not being present in the moment. They're not able to receive anything themselves. They're just constantly in that fear and lack. So that's what I loved as well, is that not only did you create this incredible, like uplifting, amazing experience, but also this safe space where women could literally just be held, have fun, be in community without this need to like, well, I've had a day off my business, I've had some time away from the kids, better get an ROI, better make sure I've got some clients. Like that was really nice to see as well. It was just literally just being in the moment.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for saying that as well. Like, thank you so much. And oh, I joked about it, didn't I, on the day? I was like, it was like prepping for my wedding day.
And
And
also, I want an invite to that wedding because it's going to be absolutely insane.
well, do you know what was so funny was I was joking about the fact that I was prepping for my wedding. So then everybody started coming up to me and going, "Oh my God, are you engaged? When's the wedding?" And I was like, "No, no, no, hold on. I'm not engaged. Like this was just a joke." Because I had
Yeah,
like a guest book, I had all the cookies. I really wanted to show detail on the day. Like my thing is detail. I wanted to
mm,
create something where I wanted to show what I would want if I went to an event. And so
yeah,
many people came up to me and they're like, Athena, it's the little things that you've done that we've really noticed. I'm so happy that they were noticed.
yeah,
And like the guest book, which I haven't even read yet, which I really need to do, of all the messages that everyone has left.
mm,
And I'm just so unbelievably grateful that everybody came together to create this space, because people said to me like, oh, how amazing the event was and everything. But if you truly think about it, anyone who, well, not anyone, majority of people could put together an event and make the event look beautiful, the chandeliers, the notepads, the cookies, the whatever it is that are, the bubbles, all of that, anyone could do that. But then you could have like not a great community of women coming together. The people in
yeah.
the room could not be what as great as they were, and therefore you wouldn't have the day that you had. So although I
Yeah.
put the day together physically, I think that what made the day was the people in the room. And so I
But
actually
that
want to give a
comes
shout
from
out.
you, though. That comes from you, though, also, Athena, setting the vision and the standards and the community ethos. So, equally, let's not undermine that's come from you. Like I say, anybody could put together an event, as you mentioned, but it has to start with that vision of what is it that ultimately this isn't just a day out for a jolly. It's about actually getting the right people in the room together to essentially create like the new normal. This is a movement that you've created, and you need to receive that and be like, wow, yeah, I'm a bit of a badass.
Okay,
um
I'll take that. I'm a bit of a
yeah,
badass.
yeah, because also I wanted to share with you, like, don't just rush your way through the guest book. Like that's the thing, just to say like, oh, I've done it, I've read it, I've reflected. Because it's better to do it at
No.
a time where you've got that time and space. Because on a subconscious level, as a money mentor, this is your next level of success. I know you've done retreats before, but you mentioned like this was a level up from the year before, and obviously the next one will be even more so. So if you have any negative attachment to any of that work that you've done and the overwhelm and then trying to catch up on everything afterwards, there's going to be some resistance to the next one, because you have to acclimatize and like to this level of success. And it's the same with the women that will be listening to the podcast with every new project. We're not talking about small amounts here. This is big amounts of money and far beyond what we would normally be doing in our everyday life. So you have to kind of sit and receive and acclimatize to that, and allow that space and that safety. Like, I did the thing and actually it was pretty amazing. And actually, I'm pretty good. And it's okay for me to, you know, create this as my level of normal, but also now take it up a notch. And that comes from that reflection work.
Do you know what? I'm so glad you said that, actually, because people might think, so today is Monday, the 22nd of April, when we're recording this, and this is going to come out in a week's time. And therefore, people are going to think, obviously, the retreat happened on Friday and I still haven't read my book. And people might think, well, how come she hasn't read her book yet over the weekend? And you just nailed it. I don't want to rush the book. I
Mm.
want to have a moment where I'm able to, because quite frankly, I was a corpse, like a zombie over the weekend.
Yeah,
Like I can't explain to you how drained I was, because it was months and months of hardcore preparation and adrenaline that was running through my body, and my body literally like collapsed at the weekend. And
I can
so even
imagine.
on
And also,
Sunday,
you were working the room. Like, you were the most gracious host I've ever seen. Like, that's a lot of energy to expend. But also, you did it in heels and the most fabulous dress I've ever seen. So you can't take away from that either. I actually woke up Saturday feeling hungover. And I was like, I don't
yeah.
even think I had a drink.
Do you know, I said that to Steve. I said to him, he says, how do you feel when I was waking up? And I said, I feel hungover, like
Yeah.
completely. And what I want to say is, like, I'm going to take a moment this evening. I've literally blocked out my diary, because that's what I got told to do, because I worship my diary. As I've blocked out the
Mm.
time and I've written in it, read the book. I've literally
Yeah.
written that in my diary. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to individually read each message and take a
Yeah.
moment to myself with nobody else around me, just to breathe and go, oh my God, what did I actually do? And
Yeah.
sit there in my own kind of power, which I often tell people to do, and maybe just give myself a little bit of a pat on the back and go, Okay, what's next? When's
Yeah,
the
because
next one?
that's your opportunity to realign also from that feedback. As I mentioned, I'm a feminine energy leader, so I love to create in collaboration. And you having that incredible feedback from the women that attended, that's also a really great chance to realign all of your business goals, everything that you've got on right now, and think, is this ultimately what I want? And what does the next phase look like? So I'm really excited that you're going to do that.
100%. And I love that you just said that about feedback, because if someone was to say to me, like, why do you create these? Or, like, why do you do it? Number one, I enjoy it. I love creating events. It's like an energy filler for me, but I create it for the girls. I really do, the women. And I really want to know what it is that they want out of it, because if they're happy, then I'm happy. And then we can all just create it together. So very, very excited. So that's the retreat. We've spoken about it, but I just want to say, like, thank you for everybody that came. I literally like want to send a hug to each of you listening through your earpieces right now. If you're running, if you're washing up, if you're taking the kids to school, like, I love you all. Thank you so much. And save the date, by the way. I'm going to be doing a save the date, but to all you listeners out there, save the date for Saturday, the 7th of December, which is going to be the Christmas gala that we are going to be doing. So Saturday, the 7th of December, save the date, because we are going to rock it and we are going to have a great time. So
Yes,
yeah. So
very
Rebecca,
excited for that.
yeah. Okay, back to you. So you, of course, are this powerhouse of a woman. So, first of all, what I'd love to actually know, and for the listeners to know, is actually how you got started and your journey actually as a person. Because I know a little bit about you in terms of how old you were when you first started and that type of thing. And I think it'd be really good for people to know where you
Mm.
were, where you've come from, and where you're now, and where you're looking to go. If you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, God, it's quite a story. I always feel like it's American Pie, where it's like, and then this one time at Bancab. So essentially, I my journey, and the reason that it is relevant is that it's kind of led me to where I am and the soul's mission that I have to support more women to be financially empowered and build actual wealth. Here's the thing: like, it's not about how much money you've got coming into your bank account and going through your fingers. It's about how much you can hold on to it and how hold on to it and what you're doing with it. So essentially, when I was taking it right back, so when I was 4, I've been made homeless twice in early childhood, essentially, and it really created, set me on the path of where I am in terms of money mindset, psychology, why people do what they do, and why I've got this relationship with money. So when I was 4, my dad was in the Navy, and we lived in naval quarters, and he passed very suddenly at 25, and obviously when you're no longer in the Navy, they surprisingly don't want you to live on the naval base. So we were evicted almost overnight. It was my mum, my sister at the time, and I don't think my mum ever really recovered from that. She was very emotionally checked out as a parent, and she did receive some money as a result of crowdfunding, actually, from the guys on the ship, which is just, again, like, if I could ever meet those people, it'd just be so incredible, because what a beautiful gesture. And the whole intention behind that was that me and my sister would not go without the things that we would have received if my dad was there. And it was just such a beautiful sentiment. But sadly, because of the way that the money had come to my mum and all of these emotions and feelings about money, she essentially self-sabotaged. So we had a period where things were good, but then by the age of 13, 14, the money had run out again and our house was repossessed. And it was at that point where it was like, I think she was just done, bless her, in life, in parenting. I had another 2 siblings by that point, and she'd attracted a really financially disempowering stepdad who was just awful to all of us. And she just kind of checked out. So I ended up moving on and kind of living with different family members, just so that I could essentially finish my education. But it was interesting. So I ended up bouncing around from different family members that were at very different standards of living. So I don't know if you've read the book by Robert Kawasaki, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad, but essentially that's the experience that I had, where one side was considered to be wealthy, and because I was always the perpetual guest in the house, like I was never their child, I was always very much on the outside, and almost like I'd gone into like a survival mode where I was very detached from my own emotions. Because again, like, and I look at it now, I've got a 2-year-old who is essentially feral, and the amount of tantrums she has in a day, like there's such pride that she feels comfortable and safe to do that. I mean, it dissipates very quickly when I'm like, okay, enough now, we're milking it. But I never had that. So I always had like this emotional detachment, this curiosity around like why people do what they do, because I had that firsthand experience in manifestation where the family that I would stay with that would have no money, you know, roughest council estate in Portsmouth, always, you know, everything's kind of, you know, fallen off a lorry. Nothing is paid for, you know, this real distrust in the government, rich people at large and all of the things, and just, you know, belief that everybody was out to get them, the rich get rich while the poor get poor, and they never really empowered themselves to ever want any more. So that was their reality. They kind of, it was this self-fulfilling prophecy. And the wealthier side of the family were just very neutral about it, and it was just really curious to me around, you know, as that gentle observer, you know, how this was happening. So then when it came to going out into the world and creating my own fortunes, obviously I knew very quickly that I need to own my own home, because I don't want to be at the mercy of anybody else and be moved on and not have that own control. So I bought my first house at 18. I worked like 100 bajillion jobs from when I was like 15 to 18 to be able to afford it, and then eventually built a portfolio that was, you know, pretty much 7 figures by 25. But because I hadn't done the internal work and really dealt with those feelings of being unworthy, like nobody's child, kind of easily disposable, I essentially self-sabotaged. So when my relationship broke down with my partner, even though I had been the driving force in all of those investments, like he was very much a plodder, you know, as an electrician, just wanted to go to the pub every weekend. Like I really overcomplicated his life because I had these big dreams. And at that time, we're talking like nearly 20 years ago, there was no YouTube, there was no social media. I literally had and I was talking to Heather about this actually, because she really resonates with it, but I just had my little Sarah Beanie book and Homes Under the Hammer. And that was like my only connection to, there has got to be something more to life than what everybody else around me is telling me. And I just had this desire that, and just this innate kind of ability to, you know, nobody told me that if I've got all this equity sitting in my house, what am I doing with it? I could actually take that equity out, and do you know what? I could actually buy another property. And it was just genuinely from removing my ego, putting myself in the rooms where I was always the most stupidest girl in the corner that didn't care, wanted to ask the stupid questions to get the information for myself, never relied on anybody else to make decisions on my behalf. But again, because I hadn't acclimatized to it, so I self-sabotaged. So essentially I went back to doing all the things that I was supposed to do, built up my corporate career, you know, paid off my mortgage that I eventually got again, and did all the things. And then I was a single parent, 3 kids, had this, you know, got my master's degree, doing all the things. And then my mum was actually helping me with my children at that point. Went to drop them off to her one morning with the baby in the car seat, like rushing, so I'm late for work. And she'd had a stroke. And literally that was the end of my corporate career that day, because this was long before the days of COVID. And I went to my boss and said, like, go, I got 3 kids under 5. Like, there is no way that I could afford childcare, let alone, you know, my bills and all the things. And they basically was like, well, thank you very much for your time. Bye. And that was it. Like, literally, I worked in construction, very unforgiving as an industry, didn't care that I had kids, and essentially, like, made me unemployable that day. So I, again, had a dark night of the soul, had a moment where I thought, right, okay, so what am I going to do about it? Like, how many times do I need to get back to zero in life before I realize that, you know, I'm the one that's actually creating my own success, and I'm so much more capable than, you know, just going to get another job that's maybe slightly better paid. So I sold my house, bought my first business, which was a barbershop. Had no business owning it. Literally had never stepped foot in a barbershop. My brother thought it was highly hilarious. It was a turnkey business that essentially, once I got my foot in the door, I realized was an absolutely sinking ship. And then again, sat there and thought, no, like, pardon my French, but fuck. Like, literally, I have relocated my 3 kids to an area I'd never even been to buy a business in an industry that I have no business being in. I have no plan B, and I cannot get back to where I was before because I'd sold my house, left all my friends behind. What the hell am I going to do about it? And I was like, wow, let's go, bitch. And essentially, I had so much adversity in that journey. You know, I had a very diverse staff pool who did not want me there. They, were culturally not used to having to deal with women. I had barbers like literally threaten me, all the things. And I just thought, well, do you know what? I've got no plan B. I've got 3 kids. Let's go. So I essentially tripled the turnover, made it an award-winning success, and used that as the evidence that I needed to finally accept that I am a fucking badass and I need to stop giving away my power to other people that tell me I'm not. And that is essentially where my business, my ambition, my soul's purpose to support more women in that realization too really began. It was in that process of like my darkest days, realizing that actually I'm all I need. Money is just the icing on the cake, and then everything has kind of blossomed from there. Sorry, it was the story I told you.
Oh, do you know what's really, really interesting? Because obviously we spoke before the retreat, and actually you didn't tell me half of that. I understand why you didn't tell me half of it. It just wasn't appropriate, of course, in the moment. Whereas, so I didn't realize that you were about to actually just tell that story. I thought you were going to sort of go from the age of about 21, 25, which is where I thought we were going to go from. So, oh my God, Rebecca, like, wow, I didn't know half of that about you. Like,
Yeah. But
just
that's the thing.
inspiring, just really
Every
inspiring.
woman has a story, though. That's the thing. Like, my
Yeah.
story maybe might be slightly more extreme in areas, but as we found out from the retreat, there were other incredible women there. Like, most women have been on some sort of journey, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for that. And it's very
And
easy in the world of social media to continue to keep putting your power outside of yourself. Like, oh, I need another mentor, I need another program, I need another course. That I'm looking around at everybody else, they seemingly are more successful, and it's like, actually, you just need yourself. Like, we are incredible beings as women who will always figure it out and get it done.
do you know what? I really heard you when you said that, actually, because I could do a bit more of that as well. Like when you just said, you stood there in that barber shop and you said to yourself, I am enough. Like I am enough.
Mm.
No, you said I'm all that I need.
Yeah.
That really resonated with me, because you're right. Money could be made in all sorts of ways, but you are all you need. And each individual person listening to this, I want you to also listen to Rebecca and say to yourself out loud as an exercise now, say it on this podcast, I am all I need. Because I
Yeah.
think that is so powerful, so powerful. And I think saying it in your head and saying it out loud are two different things. Because I think if you say it out loud, you hear yourself, you manifest it, you actually hear the words coming out. And like when I noticed what you were doing and what I was doing. I was trying to give away why the event was a success, and I was trying to give it to the women in the room, and I was trying to give it away. And you immediately, in your true style, said to me, no, Athena, you take that back. You take it
Mm.
back, and you say to yourself, I'm a badass. And I
I
don't
did
do that
that.
enough. I really don't. And I
Yeah.
listened to you and thought, oh, she's so right. Like, I'm trying to give it away because I think that, I don't know, there's something. I'm going to get a psychologist on this podcast. I really am, because there's something in all of us that make us feel like, oh, is it me? Am I enough? Was it me that did that, or was it somebody else that helped? It's very complicated, but I just want
Oh
to
no,
say, like, your
well, this
story
is
was
the thing.
incredible.
So I am a psychologist. I also have a psychology background. I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner,
Fabulous.
EFT practitioner, human design. Like I work with deep subconscious brains. And as women, there are so many different levels, even from like societal conditioning, how our limiting beliefs and program is formed in early childhood, but even, spiritually as women, having the witch's wound and the collective witch's wound between us, where it's not safe to be seen and to celebrate your success and to want any more for yourself. At every stage of history we've been persecuted for that, and this is where money's come in. Like, we put it on such a pedestal, like money is the answer to all of our problems, and I'm a money mentor, but the reality is, take all of that away and you'll still be okay, because you've got you, and that's all you need in your corner. That's all your kids, your family, anybody in your community, or lucky enough to be in your energy. That's all they need is you. You on a really good day can literally take over the world.
I
Just got to give yourself
absolutely love
permission
that.
to.
And definitely, and as part of the goodie bags that were given at the retreat, of course, they got your Good Girls Guide to Money, and I can't wait to read it, because do you know what's lovely? I
I
love
would recommend
hearing
for
an
you, go
author.
for the Audible, Athena. You don't have time to read my book. it's not
Also,
Audible. Don't even worry about it.
Also, I'm highly dyslexic, so it will take me about 20 years to read your book. So whereas, you know what? I love that you just said that because, you know, like Diary of a CEO,
Yeah.
I've just got all the books on Audible, and you're right. I've got to drive like 1,000 places. I'll just listen to you in my ear. I'll be like,
Yeah.
there she is. And
Yeah.
I just think, can I just ask you a question also? Based on
Mm,
your story, I'd like to ask you a question, which is, you said that you managed to turn around this sinking ship of a barbershop to be
yeah.
what it became. Can I
Yeah.
ask you kind of what you thought the key thing you did to turn a sinking ship around into being as successful it was? Was there a light bulb? Was there a pivoting moment? What was it?
I tripled the prices. And I mean this isn't a flippant thing like, oh, I just decided. It was because, again, everybody was telling me when I took over that barbershop, it's what we call in the industry a £10 barbershop. Basically, it was disgusting. The seats were falling apart. The previous owner had been there for like 20 years and never put any money into that business. And yet we're in a royal borough. We're in like a high street prime location. And for me, like, I didn't have any industry experience, but I had commercial awareness because I used to be a HR manager. And I was like, the math ain't mathing on this. As much as we get a lot of people, you know, we could get 100 people through the door on a Saturday. What is the point if my staff are knackered, the shop is being absolutely trashed? I'd rather, and it's the same in business, whether you're a service based entrepreneur. This is how I always get my clients justify their price increase. It's, I would rather work with less clients, but do it in a more meaningful and intentional way and actually provide a really excellent standard of service and transaction that I feel proud to get behind, and therefore increase my prices and work with less. And that's what I did with the barbershop. And all of the barbers literally threw their toys out the pram. They were like, I'm going to lose all my clients. No one's going to pay that. And I was like, I have to hold firm on this. I believe this in my very soul. And I don't know why, but it just makes commercial sense to me. I like, just work with me and go with it. And literally we tripled the turnover. And, you know, obviously the footfall wasn't as high, but it was the right caliber of people coming in. So then, you know, fast forward a couple of months later, not only were we recognized then as an award-winning standard of excellence and success, um, the barbers were like, thank God. Do you know, like, I felt like I'd aged about 50 years and like the last 10 years working for the previous owner. Like, it's such a different vibe, a different ethos. It's a different energy. It's so nice to come to work now. I really feel seen and valued. And I was like, that's something that I want to put my name to. I don't want to be part of the problem. And it's the same as a coach and a mentor. I don't ever want to be part of the problem. Overselling, massively subscribing, throwing loads of people into my programs. Because at the end of the day, like, I've still got a soul and I need to sleep at night. I would rather work with less people and do it much better. So that's what I always encourage my clients to do also. So it was just that. It was basically that. And that was the turning point of really gaining the respect of my staff, finding my stripes. Because prior to that, I was such a people pleaser in corporate. I can't remember if I said to you, but I worked in HR, and a lot of that, you know, is very heavy personal circumstance when you're dealing with people. And I'd have to go to the toilet and to cry because I'm such an empath. And I was like, how did I get to this job? But now I found my stride, I found my voice. And, you know, once you've been activated as a woman, you can't be unactivated. Now you can't put me back in that box if you paid me.
Do you know, I love that. And I just want to touch on this idea because you said that like you do have that psychology aspect to you as well.
Mm.
Obviously, like so much happened to you at such a young age. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. Like I'm sending you the most massive hugs through this screen. I really, really am. And
I'm
through our pod.
grateful. Don't worry, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, but this is what I wanted to ask you about. I want to ask you because I'm so curious about this when I
Mhm.
speak to not like women and men and things, but mainly women about this, which is, do you feel, this is a question, that some of us, like yourself, have this, we're like something that we're born with. It's just in us, it's in our soul, that we
Mhm.
just believe that we can do more than what people like
What
tell
our
us we can
circumstances
do,
tell us.
or we know that there's more to life that we have to give.
Yeah. I think, well, obviously, I believe in soul's purpose and mission in this lifetime. And I believe that some of us are given more adversity than others so that we can overcome that and support others on that journey. But equally, as spiritual beings, like, we're all meant to grow and thrive in whatever that looks like in our lifetime. So for me, you know, you've only got to look to nature for abundance and growth. Like, none of us were put on this earth to just reach a certain height or a certain level of comfort and just be like, that's enough. That's enough growth. Like, I believe we're supposed to continue to grow, thrive, excel, expand, like fish in a container until the day that we die. But just, and it's the same with human design. I mentioned I use that with my clients. It's like we all had a spiritual blueprint, but then life got a hold of us. Our parents got a hold of us, society got a hold of us, and just essentially, shaped us into who they thought that we wanted to be. And I think some of us will have that spiritual knowing where it's like, even though it makes no sense, like literally coming from the roughest council estate in Portsmouth, where it was just like, getting your fast track to benefits and being able to get pregnant as soon as possible. Like that was my only hope. My mum always said to me, like, at least you've got a pretty face. And it's like, great. Am I waiting for somebody to save me then, apparently? And obviously that was just never felt right to me. I didn't, but it's also very lonely. So that's the thing. Like I never had any friends. I never had like connections with my siblings. I always just felt like I was in the wrong body. But now as a molder, you get to find that community for yourself.
I absolutely love that. And I hear you on so many levels, because I remember when I was going through my whole transition from going from the corporate world, a very, very fast paced retail, sales, high pressured environment, to deciding that I wanted more out of life and I knew I could do it for myself, and to go and be more than that. And I remember talking to so many people about it who are particularly close to me, like my parents and stuff. And they'd say to me, oh, can you, just give it 24 hours, think about it, give it 24 hours, sleep on it. Are you sure this is right for you? And I would just say to them, yep, I'll give you your 24 hours, but, I don't need it, because I knew there was something in my heart that knew I'm going to go against what everybody thinks I should do, because in my heart, I know I can do this. And I think that's where it starts, isn't it? It has to be,
Yeah.
it has to come from within your
Your own
soul,
intuition.
to say
Yeah.
there must be more to life, there must be more to this. And I just find that so interesting. I almost want to know, like, I want to know if you're born with it, or I want to know if you develop it, and because of what life throws at you, actually, do you know what, is it more that you're born with it, or is it because of what life puts you through and what you go through, you think, I don't want to go through this again, and
So
therefore it's
as
actually
women,
what your social environment is.
I believe so. As women, our brains are wired differently to men's. We're meant to be more risk averse. We have a more attachment to a perceived sense of loss when it comes to risk. So if we don't believe that we have a successful outcome, then we aren't even going to put ourselves into the game. So I believe for us, it was a case of my back is against the wall. And now is my time. It's now or never. I don't have anything left to lose. So if I don't go all in, then that will be a loss to me because of that potential that I just kind of know that's there. Because don't get me wrong, I had known for years that I didn't want to work for anybody else, but I wasn't brave enough to do it. And whilst that job was sitting there, and whilst I had the good salary and the mortgage and everything else, I never would have made that move. Don't get me wrong. And I tried to like start little things up on my maternity leave, and then I'd had to retreat back to corporate. It was only when I genuinely was like, well, I am unemployable, I don't have a plan B, that I gave myself permission to go all in. And again, didn't have a plan or anything else, but just kind of, there was no loss to me anymore, because it's like, well, I've already lost everything that I can anyway. And it's the same with you. Like, you'd already lost your job. That decision, that dilemma had already been taken away from you. So there was no sense of perceived loss from that situation. It was like, there is a win-win, because either I'm going to have the absolute, like, blow my own damn mind and have the most incredible life and achieve everything that I feel I know is possible, or I can just go back and get another job if I need to. There's no loss in that situation. So I think that's probably what it is. You've then given yourself permission to do the thing that you always knew you were meant to do.
I love that. You've just nailed it. You just literally hit the nail on the head. And you're right. You know, I always use this word, actually. I say to a lot of people, give yourself permission to do this. I always say that, and they're like, oh, that's such an interesting way to view it, because it's almost like they're waiting to be given the
Yeah.
permission. And so I always say to them, I'm giving you permission. You can do
Yeah.
it, you know.
And we
And I
need
only
to
do that to
redefine
people who I
failure.
feel need it.
Yeah,
Mm,
I think it's about
it's so
redefining failure.
interesting.
And when anybody's ever going through a bad time in their business, I always say, like, I am so excited for you. And they're like, no, but like literally like launches have failed, sales are down. I'm like, but do you know who you are going to become on the other person, the person on the other side of this failure or perceived failure right now? You are going to give yourself permission to make the bold choices, to be finally seen and heard, to get your business into alignment with what you actually want to do and not the things that you feel like you need to be doing in order to be successful. Like, I am so excited for who's going to emerge on the other side of that. Like, I can't wait. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, I'd never, but instead they were feeling like embarrassed, shameful, like there was something bad or wrong with where they are. And I was like, sometimes the universe knows better than us, and rejection can be protection. And I think when you get those real dark nights of the soul, actually it's because something incredible is going to emerge on the other side of it. And we need to look for those moments rather than fearing them.
Do you know, I feel like everybody needs a Rebecca in their life. Like I really do. And just carry you around in a pocket. And so my question to you is, who was your Rebecca? Who was it that believed in you, that really spurred you on? I know obviously you had yourself, but was there another person who was able to say, "Girl, you got this"?
I don't think there was ever one person. That's the thing. I've not been very lucky when it comes to mentors, but I think it would be a lot of little things. I mean, there's obviously lots of books and things that I read that really inspired me, and people that I'll never meet that have touched me profoundly in one way or another. But I think it was always, and this is why I always say we've always got a part to play. Like, no matter how big or small, you will be impacting somebody in a positive way, or we all have the capacity to. So don't think that you need a big audience or a big anything to make somebody's day, because even just when I've gone to a networking event and like asked a question, somebody's been really generous with the response and gone above and beyond and given me more feedback, that would have helped me. Absolutely. And you can't negate those little wins along the way. I love what you said at the retreat actually about the 1%. Every day, as long as you try and improve 1% than the person you were the day before, that has a huge compound effect. And I think that's what it is. Like, I intentionally started to move away from the people that drained me, that again was definitely not going anywhere that I wanted to go, because they were very much in victim mode, and gave myself permission to essentially just stop listening to those people, switch off the news and all of the things, and then just start putting into my life the people that actually could inspire me in one way or another. So I'd say it's that. It's, it still comes back to me, but it's the little people along the way that will never know that they helped me on my way.
I think that's perfect. I think you're 100% right. It is always sort of the little people along the way and the little sprinkles of joy that come with that. And I'm obviously now a part of the Wealthy Women Mastermind. I am
Yeah.
so excited. I cannot tell you. We start on the 25th of April. Heather Smale's also going to be on it as well, who's Blonde Property, who's been a speaker at the retreat, and she's also come on my podcast before as well. And I'm just so excited to be in a room with such powerful women from all different walks of the industry. Not just property. In the property world, sometimes you can get so stuck and fixated on just speaking to property people. And I'm so excited to speak to a fitness coach, I don't know, a barbershop person, anyone that just has a business, to be like, what do you do? Like, talk to me about your
Yeah.
business, talk to me about your dreams, and we can all learn from each other. And I just would love for you to take this moment to really explain about what the mastermind program is, how it works, and just how you can inspire others if they wanted to join and come be part of this, and join before 25th of April so we can really get an amazing powerhouse together.
Oh my God, this would be amazing. So, the mastermind for me is essentially like everything that I want to see in the world. For me as a mentor, I want to be able to facilitate that. So, as you said, it's women that are representing all different industries that are changing it in, however big or small, but in their own way, and really claiming that space, being the advocate for their clients that are, shaking up what is common practice for each of their industries, and just being the change that they want to see. So, for me, it's about creating those safe spaces. It's about being, inspiring each other and being at the table where the higher level conversations happen that move beyond like my next deal, my next this. It's actually about like ultimate alignment, soul's mission, impacting change, having more, collaborating at higher levels, opportunities to speak and really leave the world in a much better place than you left it, whether that be writing a book, stage work, or just, setting up social charities or causes, or just, elevating the experience of business, because this for me is what ultimately equals sustainable business. And it's why I'm now like 9, 10 years into my journey, and I always feel like I'm just getting started. It's because my business is not one element of my life that sits over here separate to me. It is ultimately the conduit that allows me to fulfill my soul's purpose. So that's what I want to essentially create, is that for more women can feel that all-round fulfillment, that nourishment of being in the room with these incredible women, feeling seen, heard, inspired and activated, and then essentially going out and filtering that out in whatever way in their communities, their families, and their industries, like, so that it just feels this whole beautiful wholeness. We're all gonna, like I say, ascend to our next level together, which feels really nice as well. Sorry, that
I
was so high
absolutely love
level and
that.
woo woo.
Yeah, I love that. And I love this idea of, I've always said, I think women are a force to be reckoned with when we come together,
Yeah.
because I just think we are so strong as a unit, and to really be inspired by the women in the room. And also, can I just make a really, really fundamental point here? We are also off to California in September for the California retreat. Can we
Yes.
just make a note of that?
Oh, oh my God, yes. And it's included in the mastermind, by the way, if you come, if you join. And that's the thing for me, getting you out of your environment will be so integral to quantum leaps in your business. Like, people often say, I'm so ready for more. Like, I've definitely outgrown where I am, but I don't know how to get to the next step. And typically it's because you're just too busy. You're so busy on the next thing, the next task, the next launch, the next thing that you commitment, that you don't get that chance to really work on your business. Because when you have something that is like driven from a soul's purpose, like you said, when you've got that vision, you're like, I don't know why this is going to work. It doesn't make sense on paper, but I am telling you, it is this. That is when you can move mountains in your business. That's when you create unrealistic success that does not make sense. I've sold out 100K launches for clients based on a Stripe link. Didn't even have a sales page, no social proof, no email list, no testimonials, because the vision was so strong. You don't, everything, like all of the other logical masculine things go out the window when you have that deeper sense of connection to your work. That's what happens when you get out of your environment. And that's why I'm so passionate about facilitating that transformation and hosting these retreats. Like, I'm so excited. I can't tell you.
Well, I'm obviously very, very excited because it's going to be around my birthday as well. So I'm going to have my 33rd birthday out in California, which I've never been to California before. It's been on my vision board for the longest time. And like, I just feel like I put it out to the universe, and then you came along and were like, yes, let's go. And I was like, 100%. And I think there's actually quite a few women from the retreat who are going to be coming on this. So it's just going to be an absolute, like, oh my God, like, it's just gonna be a powerhouse of a trip
It
in
really is.
September.
And Los Angeles, so California is actually on spiritual ley lines. So the magic when you feel, that's why it's called like Los Angeles, City of Angels, because it's like a spiritual place. So the transformation that happens there, it's, and also obviously being in Beverly Hills, tapping into abundance. That's why I went to LA, to Beverly Hills to write my book, because I thought, where in the world, if I'm going to talk about abundance and anything is possible and getting outside of societal norms, where else can I do that than to give myself permission to leave my kids at home and go and sit on a luxury rooftop pool, bar place in Beverly Hills? I have to be the embodiment of what I'm teaching. And that's why I went there. So it's quite a special place to me anyway, because again, that's where another level of me was activated. But I'm excited for you guys too, to have that as well.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm already thinking about my bathing suit, what I'm gonna wear, how, like, how to extend the trip. Like, oh my God, there are
Yes.
so many conversations that need to happen. But I'm super, super excited. I mean, just think about this year. You know, we've had the retreat, we're going off to California, we then got the gala dinner in December. Like, it's just gonna be an epic, epic year. It really is. And
Yeah.
the more people that come along for the ride, the better. And I would just like to say one other thing as well, just because we're speaking about kind of business and moving forward and that type of thing, which is, and I think you touched on it earlier, Rebecca, as well, is this idea of, you know, those who are listening on this podcast as well, and you're thinking about starting a business and you're thinking about growing, you must think to yourself, it's not about trying to get everything perfect from the get-go. It's not about creating the perfect logo, the perfect brand, the perfect reel, having the perfect studio. Rosalia, who was at the retreat, spoke about this, and she said, look, done is better than perfect. And she's absolutely right. And we spoke about this idea that, you guys probably have seen, and if you haven't, then I'll explain it to you. This podcast that is being recorded right now is being used with one laptop, a Blue Yeti mic, and a lighting circle. And that's all I've got to bring the voices of these incredible women together. It doesn't need to be in this fancy studio with these fancy lights and these fancy production team that's going to make it like, but bells and whistles. It can just be that you just press start. And as long as you know that in your heart, and this is what I want to do, this is my vision, this is how I'm going to move forward, then please listen to it and please do it. And don't let your voice in your head say, I don't have everything I need before I start, because you will literally stand still in your spot for the rest of your life. And then what you'll do is you'll then say to yourself in a year's time, oh, I didn't do what I wanted to do. And I don't want anyone to feel like that. I want you to feel like I did it, I'm doing it, I'm bossing it, and it's going to get perfect, or not even perfect. It's going to develop as time goes on, and you're going to learn more and more about what it is you want to represent as well. So from a business aspect, Rebecca, I just wanted to say that, because I think that that's such a powerful thing that like Rosalia and what I was trying to say at the retreat, to just able to just reach for
It
the
can often
stars
be
and go for it.
self-protection, though. Here's the thing, like we can end up self-sabotaging our own dreams and goals because our ego gets in the way, and we feel, like you say, everything needs to be perfect because we don't want to face the negative outcome of rejection or judgment from others. But I always like to think, whenever I've got clients that are like, oh, I can't go live on Instagram, or I can't do this thing, haven't washed my hair, it's like, think about the person that needs you right now. Genuinely come from a place of service in your business, because you only need to be 2 steps ahead of anybody to offer value. And that eliminates, then, if you can really get into that mindset where it's not about me, it's about them, that eliminates imposter syndrome. Because like I say, you just need to be 2 steps ahead. Perfectionism, procrastination, all of those toxic traits that we are thinking, oh, it's because I want good standards. It's not. It's because we're trying to be hidden, and because we don't want to be fully seen, and we don't want to really own space and the value that we bring to the table. So it's like, recognize it for what it is, give love and compassion to the version of you that wants to be great and all things, and then give yourself permission, as Athena said, to just move on anyway, because somebody out there needs you.
I love that. Perfectly said. In a nutshell. Wonderful. So Rebecca, now obviously what people know is that you are a a badass woman in business. I'd say bad bitch then. Badass woman.
Thanks very much.
Badass
Not so
woman.
much yourself.
A badass woman in business. But alongside that, you do actually have like a property journey, property stories, and that sort of side to you as well. And as you know, as part of the podcast, we always talk about kind of a property mishap, a property disaster, something fun. So have you got any examples?
Oh, I remember something really funny, actually. I went on, so basically I was damp proofing my house, or it was a house that was like being used as an investment property to like take the equity out of. But I thought in my mind, I'll go away, like thinking I'm so bougie and bad now. I'm going to go away to like the Canary Islands, because it was like January. And, then I'm going to come back and the house is going to be finished. It's all going to be beautiful. So I've obviously done that, and it's been nothing but problems. Like, got issues from, they've had to take like all the plumbing off the walls and all the things. And then got home with my suitcase at like probably midnight, and it was pitch black, like fuming, because I know that it's going to be a nightmare as soon as I walk through the door. What I didn't realize was they'd actually taken up the whole of I don't even know why, but it was like the front bit as you go into the porch, and then they completely dug it out to foundations. So I literally walked in, like opened the door with my suitcase, because I'm only like 5'1", by the way, so I'm very tiny but mighty. And I've gone in talking to my partner like, oh, what kind of nightmare are we going to get? And had such a Del Boy moment, because I've stepped into the property thinking that I'm then going to put my suitcase in, and just fallen into a hole. Like literally opened the door, fell into a hole. And then I was like, help, I'm in a hole. Oh no, what's happened? So my partner had to like help me out of this hole, and then we got in, and it was just a whole lot worse inside the house. But that always cracks me up, because I thought I was going to go in, start being a boss, shouting, and I didn't even get as far as the front door. It was quite funny.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And you know what? We've all been there, haven't we? We're like, yep, I'm going to manifest. This is all going to be done when I get back from holiday.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be fab. And you're like, okay, it hasn't quite gone
Yeah.
to plan.
Yeah, I couldn't even get to the toilet either because they'd taken up all the floor in the kitchen. You had to go through the like kitchen to get to the bathroom. So I was like, I'm literally like, I'm in a hole and I can't even get to the bathroom. Like, what is this life? You know? And it's like at that moment, she regrets all of her life decisions. Who wants to be a property developer again?
Oh, hilarious. Yeah, we've all said that. We all have that moment where like, remind me, why did I decide to do this again? Why did I think this was a good idea? Oh my goodness. Honestly, Rebecca, I have loved having you on the podcast today. I think you are fabulous. I hope so many other women come and join the Wealthy Women Mastermind, because it's all about the
Yeah.
people, it's all about the connections within it, and it's all about going on this 12-month journey together and beyond from that. And also having a fab time in California. Let's be real. Um, so
Absolutely. Yeah.
super exciting. So if people want to learn more about you, if people want to learn more about the mastermind, and people want to sort of come together, how could they find you, please?
So I have a YouTube, which is the Femalepreneur Coach, which has lots of subconscious tools to help you with your relationship with money, because that's essentially what we're talking about. But also on Instagram. So it's the Femalepreneur Coach. You can buy my book on Amazon if you want to. But essentially, the ultimate place to get that transformation is by being in the room and being at the tables with the women that are, you know, paving the way, as you will be. So I'd love to see you in the mastermind or at the retreat also.
Perfect. Love that. And if you want to find me and have a conversation, I'm Athena_official. We are Girls in Property on Instagram. Please give us a follow for all the latest updates and information about upcoming events. And if you want to reach out via email, we're girlsinpropertypod@gmail.com. Rebecca, thank you so much. What a fabulous time Friday was. People got to sort of hear you as well and hopefully learn so much more about you as I have on this podcast today. And I just can't wait to get started with you and quite frankly just take over the world. Like, let's do it.
Yeah. And I can't wait to be like your wing girl for all of that as well. Your wing woman. I'm very excited. Thank you for allowing me to be part of that journey.
Anytime. Love it. Have a great Monday, guys, and thank you so much for listening. Take care. Bye.
Bye.